What's up, everybody? I normally don't do this type of video format. I usually just put myself in front of the camera and show some gameplay in the corner, that kind of thing. But I haven't really been feeling well these past few days, so we're gonna go with this format for now. And hopefully, you guys watch all the way to the end because I'm looking at the YouTube stats, and you pretty much are not watching to the end. But I want to talk about the Xbox showcase because I didn't talk about the PlayStation showcase on my channel, but I did talk about it on my podcast, the Three Amigos podcast. Go check that out. But with the PlayStation showcase, I felt that overall it was pretty garbage. For me personally, the only reason to watch it, for me, like what I enjoyed out of it, was the Spider-Man gameplay. Other than that, the handheld they're creating is really stupid. The earbuds look nice. That's one thing I was interested in looking at. Don't really care too much about Metal Gear. We had no news about Silent Hill, which is fine. There was nothing from Naughty Dog or Sucker Punch and that kind of thing. So that showcase for the PlayStation was pretty garbage, and with the Xbox One, it's not that it's garbage, it's just that there was a lot of stuff in here, like a lot, and we're not gonna go over everything because we won't have time to go over everything. But for the stuff I do want to go over, it does also kind of contribute to the problem that Xbox has, which is the games you can play on it and whether or not those games are exclusive to Xbox. Now, I do have a list of some of the games that were announced at the presentation and are releasing within the next year to 2 years, and I want to go over them and just go over some details about whether I care about them or whether I'm interested or not, and what this can mean for the fans and what it can do going forward. But we also have to address the elephant in the room from a few weeks ago when Phil Spencer was on that podcast, and he basically said that creating these amazing experiences for gamers would not flip the sales and have people coming running over to Xbox. Basically, his words are, we're not really gonna have the he doesn't think it's possible that making these exclusives will make players want to get an Xbox.
Position, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games.
And everyone has been talking about that to death. And I have to be honest with that whole statement and say that it was really stupid. Really fucking stupid on his part to say that. I don't know if it was his own words or someone higher above him told him to do that, or like the team who handles like the press conferences and that kind of thing. I can't remember what the name of that team is called. But anyway, my whole mindset, and everyone else's mindset as well, is you buy a console for two reasons. One, the ability to play games with your friends online, and two, the games that you can only play on that console. And also primarily like the controller, in some ways how the controller is. Personally, I prefer the Xbox controller over the PlayStation controller when it comes to fighting games and first-person shooters. When it comes to anything else, I don't really have a preference between the two. I just find that the Xbox controller is more comfortable for fighters and shooters. But with people wanting to play games with their friends, that kind of goes hand in hand with what games are on your console. So therefore, you have a bunch of people who buy a console for those games, and they do have multiplayer. Then their friends are going to go and buy that console to play with them online. When it comes to Nintendo, you have Mario and Zelda and Smash Bros. And all the other Nintendo exclusives. Like, I felt that Breath of the Wild was heavily overhyped, and with Tears of the Kingdom, I think it's one of the greatest games ever made, and I've lost a lot of sleep playing that game, being up till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just playing Tears of the Kingdom, finding shrines, trying to learn more about the story that's going on. And that's why people buy your console, to play those games. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2 releasing this year, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Ratchet and Clank, Returnal, etc., etc. Those are why people buy the PlayStation, to play those games exclusively. And when it comes to those who think I'm a Sony pony because of how I feel about Xbox, keep in mind that I play my consoles, with the exception of Switch, my consoles almost evenly. And also keep in mind that before Street Fighter 6 release, because I did get that on PlayStation, but before that, I was playing Hogwarts Legacy on my Xbox, Resident Evil 4 on my Xbox, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor on my Xbox. Okay, and I am also right now going through Resident Evil 5 with my friend in co-op on Xbox. So I play my consoles pretty evenly among the board. It really comes down to what game releases, because after Star Wars, Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was playing that for a while. I was going to get Street Fighter on Xbox, but I decided to get it on PlayStation so I could stream it on YouTube with PlayStation. But anyway, with the showcase, I do want to talk about these games, and with the whole feelings about Xbox that I have, it's not that I hate Xbox. I think that there's a problem with how they are, what their plan is. They do need to get their games, or their companies or developers, to get these games out to us and actually make good games, and not just rely on Bethesda and Activision to make games that are already kind of a bit in trouble with, I'll get into the Bethesda one in a bit and Activision in a bit, but the history of Activision, and before they got bought by Microsoft, what happened with the last couple Bethesda titles, and what just happened with Redfall. So Xbox is already in a bad situation. Even Phil Spencer himself said that they're kind of in last place. So with some of these games, they're not all exclusive to Xbox, and that's another problem, and we'll go over that when we go through it. But some of the titles that they announced for this showcase was starting off with, starting on this list, and I'm looking at Fable. I never played a Fable game in my life. I don't know much about Fable. I know there's a huge fan base for Fable, and you got a new Fable coming out. I don't know anything about the franchise, but that is something that people would say, hey, if you do it right, people are gonna want to buy your console. Or even like people who maybe they left Xbox because of the recent game releases, or they just were not ready to buy the Xbox for whatever reason. That's something that can bring people to come buy an Xbox. Just don't do the same thing you did with Halo Infinite and just completely ruin it for those fans, or like the Redfall issue and everything else that we'll talk about in a bit. But Halo was, we don't have to talk about Halo and what happened to it. For me, Forza Horizon was getting boring and stale, so we'll talk about Forza in a bit. But Fable, you got Fable coming out. It looks pretty interesting with the type of world they're building and what it's about. And, it's like a fantasy thing, if I'm not mistaken, and I like that type of world and everything. So I wouldn't mind trying it, because it is gonna be on Game Pass day one, and maybe I'll try the previous Fable games. I just don't know if I have like the time or attention span to really just sit there and play those games. I know they're like supposed to be long RPG games, but maybe we'll go through it. Next on this list is the expansion for Cyberpunk, the Phantom Liberty. I don't really want to talk about this too much. Cyberpunk has made its improvements since the launch, and with the Netflix show, it has had its hype re-brought in, and at that point when the show was out, a lot of people were playing the game again and buying the game and everything. But this is not exclusive to Xbox. I don't think it's a timed exclusive for the DLC. I just think they just wanted to put it on the showcase and show it. So we're not going to talk too much about that. Avowed, I believe is what the title was called. Again, I don't know much about this one itself. But it is a fantasy RPG by Obsidian. When I did look up Obsidian, they did do some of the really cool Star Wars games, but this is something that just don't really interest me. I believe it is a primarily first-person game, which that was my other problem with Xbox, is just that a lot of their games was first-person, and I don't hate first-person games, but I don't think that every single exclusive should be first-person. And I actually made a video on my channel a while back, and it was basically saying how like all these games were first-person shooters, first-person RPGs, and I just don't think that they're like the be-all end-all for games. I don't want to go to an expansive, huge open world that's only first-person, okay? And I play first-person games here and there. I play Call of Duty here and there. I've played Skyrim primarily in first-person because the third-person camera kind of sucked in that game. Aside from those, I play Cyberpunk. So I'm not completely against first-person games. Oh, Resident Evil 7 and 8. Those are two of my favorite Resident Evil games. Like just on the horror aspects alone, and they're first person, and something like that. I would like because the horror is right in your face, right? I am currently trying to go through Amnesia, which is first person, but like I said, I don't hate first person. I just don't like the fact that a majority of their games are first person games, and that's just a personal opinion. So if you like it, that's great. If you disagree, that's great. Just don't be a dick about it in the comments. Moving on from there, some game that was announced called South of Midnight. It was just a quick teaser trailer. I did not like the art style or the animation in the trailer. It just didn't look appealing to me. I don't really know much about this, but it is developed by the team who did We Happy Few, which did not succeed that well. It wasn't well received as a game. It's a very forgettable game too, from what I know. And I'm not saying that if a developer makes one crappy game, the rest will be crappy. I'm just saying that you are kind of starting off on the wrong foot, or you have a disadvantage already because of your previous projects. And they are saying that this game is supposed to be like an action adventure game that's third person. That's cool. I'll take it if it actually is good and looks good. But to me right now, the teaser did not pull me in. There's nothing there I'm like, oh, I want to see what that's about. I don't really care about that. Star Wars Outlaws is not, from my knowledge, not exclusive because it is a Ubisoft title, but it is going to be an open world Star Wars game taking place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. As far as I know, you would not get to play as a Jedi, but we do have Jedi Survivor, so play that if you haven't. It's really great. It's better on Xbox performance-wise than PlayStation 4, I'm told, and what I've noticed myself from my Xbox playthrough. But Star Wars Outlaws does seem like a very interesting kind of Han Solo type of game, and it's an open world Star Wars game. My only, I guess, fear or hesitation is that being that it's an open world Ubisoft game, you know what that means. It means going to all these different towers to unlock more of the map, having endless quests and collectibles and activities, just being very overwhelmed. Jedi Survivor does kind of suffer from that overwhelmness as well. There is a lot to do and find in that game, but you could swing a fucking lightsaber, so it kind of balances out in my opinion. But I'm hoping this does for me what The Mandalorian did, because when I first saw The Mandalorian, at the first episode, I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this, but there's no lightsaber, so how am I gonna enjoy it? And then after the first episode of season 1 is all it took for me to be like, yeah, I'm hooked. I like The Mandalorian. And I watched it up until season 2. I saw a bit of season 3, didn't finish it, but anyway, I'm a little bit scared for this Ubisoft Star Wars game because it's Ubisoft, so you know what could happen. But it is going to be shown a bit more during the Ubisoft showcase, along probably the next Just Dance and a couple other games. But moving on to Forza Motorsport. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I am a bit burnt out with the Forza Horizon games. I thought Horizon 3 was amazing. It was the one that came with my Xbox One S that year that it was a bundle. And then Horizon 4 was good. I didn't like the season change too much because I hated the winter season, and every time I took a break from the game and came back, I always managed to land on the winter season. And the map wasn't as interesting to me as Horizon 3's map was. But with Horizon 5, that one where I was really like, okay, this is so stale that I couldn't enjoy Horizon 5. I didn't like the map. It was kind of bland. I understand the environment. It's, deserts of Mexico and everything. And I was hoping for a bit more to the map in terms of like the environments. And again, it was 3 Horizon games in a row. I just didn't really, I was already done with the Horizon games. So I'm happy to see that Motorsport is coming back. I do love racing games. I do play racing simulators. Despite Gran Turismo's flaws, because there is a few flaws, I love that game. I love the challenge it puts me through. I love the graphics and just the sound design. And I know for a fact, and if I'm proven wrong, then it's gonna suck. But I know for a fact that Forza Motorsport is gonna be far better than the Gran Turismo 7, far better. And I really hope that it is far better because I haven't played Motorsport since 7, and I don't even have it no more. You can't even find it no more. It's not on the Microsoft Store. You can't find it in stores anywhere. It just died. So I cannot wait to play this, and it releases October 10th, which means I can play it for 10 days and then play Spider-Man on the 20th of October. So I am excited for this Forza game, as I said a few times, and I can't wait. Next game is called Clockwork Revolution, which I believe is exclusive to Xbox, just like Forza. It looks interesting in terms of the plot, the theme, the world that you're in, the whole like time changing thing. But again, first person. I really don't like to explore these massive worlds in first person. To me, it reminds me of BioShock Infinite, and it kind of reminds me of what's the other, the alien one, Outer Worlds, I think. You know, that kind of vibe with the way the first person is and everything, and like a little bit of Prey. I didn't hate BioShock Infinite. I never beaten it. I got pretty far, and I got stuck, or there's like a bug or something in the game, and I was like, yeah, I just stopped. And it was an interesting game, but this game, it does look amazing in terms of visuals and the environments, and I would like to see more of it. But again, it's just the first person part of it for me is really that kind of kills it for me. When you want to explore a massive open world in first person, it just kind of kills it for me. Persona's getting a couple games. Who cares? I don't really care. Payday 3, another title that most likely won't be exclusive. I never played the previous Payday games. I just know the second one was, not that great. And I don't mind, like, when it comes to Game Pass, because it's going to be a Game Pass game, I wouldn't mind giving it a shot with some friends, playing a 4-player co-op thing. But to me, that's going to be try it once and maybe that's it. Unless they actually do something with the game where I'm like, yeah, this is really fun, I'm going to keep playing. Back 4 Blood for me was like that. I did it once with the guys and I was like, yeah, you guys might enjoy it because you guys are, they're first person shooter players and they played Left 4 Dead and they love those games. For me, I was like, it's another zombie shooter but worse, and it sucked, and I didn't really care for it, and I thought that was, I mean, Back 4 Blood is a shitty game overall. Don't fight me on that. It's a shitty game. And I know some people who, they think it's good for whatever reason. They just want to be a fanboy and defend garbage, but I'm not gonna defend garbage. If you have garbage on your console, I'm gonna call you out on it. Sony has their garbage too, so Payday, I don't know. Sea of Thieves is getting I don't know, an expansion or whatever. It's a crossover with Monkey Island. Isn't that like that point and click game, I think? So that makes sense, a pirate thing. I think it's like a pirate game thing, and like I never played Sea of Thieves. I do kind of like the art style of that one, especially with the water and how the water looks. But I know at launch Sea of Thieves was a disaster, and I just don't have it in me to just try it now. It was the same thing with No Man's Sky. I tried No Man's Sky, and I didn't even leave the planet. No, I left the planet like right when I got to space, and at that point I was just like, I didn't care for it. It's not for me. I didn't want to keep going. And I'm going to talk about something like that in a minute with the Starfield thing, because Starfield, we gotta get into Starfield. But Sea of Thieves, getting a cool crossover, I guess. That's interesting. They also had the Pirates of the Caribbean thing last time with the the Jack Sparrow expansion, whatever it was. So that was pretty cool. Again, I didn't play it, but that's still pretty cool. Now, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing for me. I mean, you're not gonna be surprised by the statement, but I didn't play the last one because it wasn't appealing to me. I just didn't care. But I heard a lot of people love it. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying here is I'm happy to see, because I'm pretty sure that game started off as like an indie game, and the sequel is now like a full-on AAA Xbox game. So again, this is something that people are gonna buy your console for because people loved the last one, whether they played it on Xbox or PlayStation, and they're gonna say, oh, you may have that person who's like, I really love the first one, but I don't have an Xbox. Hey, I can go buy an Xbox and play it. I'm pretty sure it might be on Game Pass. I want to say, I think it is going to be a Game Pass release. But and even with those people, were like, the fear is like, who's going to spend the $500 on a new console for the new Xbox, right? Or for an Xbox that's new to them for a game, right? Well, there is the Series S, and now it comes in black with a terabyte. So I think the Series S was great. It was my first next gen system. I had a Series S, then I upgraded to the X, and then I bought a PS5. But the Series S is great. It's not super heavy. You can travel with it because it's so light and small. The terabyte is going to be a slight game changer because I did buy the expansion card for it, but you get the expansion card if you need it. You got a terabyte for those games. You got the Game Pass already in there. If you have a Verizon account like I do, you can build your Game Pass to your Verizon bill every month. I have it that way. It's kept on that for until I remove it, and I don't mind it. I just pay the bill anyway. So my point here is, if people want to play these games on Xbox but don't want to pay the $500, they can buy the Series S. It's still fine, and they can play the new Hellblade. And I think, despite me not really interested in this game, it is something that could bring people over, or people would say, yo, you gotta play Hellblade because the game was amazing and it did this, it did that. So that's something that they have, another exclusive. So you have Hellblade, you have Fable, you have Forza, and you have the what was the clock one called again? Clockwork Revolution. So those are some exclusive titles that are like, hey, cool, we're bringing people over to the Xbox. Now, for me personally, some of these exclusives besides Forza, they're just not my cup of tea. I don't know if it's just like the vibe I get from them, or just that, I've been a PlayStation player for years, but I also played the other systems. But just the vibe of the PlayStation exclusives, just playing Spider-Man and God of War. I've been playing God of War for years also. I love the world of Horizon Forbidden West, and I don't know if Hellblade is like a full open world. I don't think the last one was, and I don't know if this one is, but they could build an amazing world with the theme. It's a Viking theme, I believe, and they could do, don't do Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because that's just an insane a lot to do. But just for me, with the Sony exclusives, the art style for me, like Ratchet & Clank's art style, is better than what we got from some other Xbox exclusives. I can't remember that one game that recently came out that people were like, saying was amazing or whatever. I'll put it in here somewhere. But yeah, Hellblade is something that people might want to play, and it could. I look at it as the competitor to either Horizon or God of War, and I could be wrong, but that's just what I feel about that. Now, moving on, they also announced the new Yakuza game, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I don't play Yakuza. I never tried it. I don't really care, but it's not exclusive, so just keep that in mind. But I mean, the Yakuza franchise is going, and I believe it's still technically a Sega, game. And I don't get me started on Sega. Don't get me started on that. But not exclusive, and I don't really know much about this one in particular, but I believe it's the 8th one in the series, so there you go. Capcom did announce something called Path of the Goddess. It's supposed to be, I guess, like a new game that's in a similar format of Aminusha Warlords, or whatever it was called. I'm for it because it's a action game with horror, and it's Capcom. Capcom has made their mistakes in the past, but they have been correcting those mistakes. Yes, Resident Evil 3 remake was a slight mistake, but you have RE2 remake, RE4. You got Dragon's Dogma 2 announced, Street Fighter 6. There's probably another one in there that I'm forgetting right now. Monster Hunter, not Worlds, it was the other one. Monster Hunter Rise, I believe it was. And that Mega Man collection they just released too. Like, Capcom was crushing it this year. So the only thing about this game, I don't know if it's exclusive to Xbox, but it is going to be day one Game Pass. So if I find more about it and I'm interested in it, I'll be trying it on Game Pass just to save the money. And I believe they might show more of it at the Capcom showcase, which I believe is also this week. But so there's one more thing I want to talk about with the showcase before I get into the whole Bethesda thing. A teaser for a game called Still Wakes the Deep. I believe based on the teaser trailer, you are exploring an abandoned oil rig, but I think it is going to be one of those like survival horror games, possibly. And I'm all for it. I like those games that can really give you a good jump scare, as I mentioned earlier. So if it is exclusive to Xbox, cool, because I know Outlast, the next one, is supposed to be coming out at some point, and I heard a lot of bad things from the people who got it early. Outlast 1 was great. Outlast 2, not so much. The expansion for the first Outlast was pretty good. Resident Evil 7 and 8 were horrifying. I still have nightmares about 8, the baby. I am hoping Amnesia is very, very terrifying. I haven't gone back to it in a few days or so. I'm trying tonight. But for these jump scare type of games or something that's really going to freak you out and really get your heart racing and put you through that challenge of overcoming that fear. So Still Wakes the Deep does seem like something very interesting for me to get into and try. But now I want to talk about the whole Bethesda thing, because I've been on this video for long enough, and I do want to get into Bethesda. So there's two things that kind of made me question why this is happening. First being a new expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online. I guess they still have a large enough player base to add to the game, but I don't know how developing is divided throughout a company in terms of like, this team is going to focus on Elder Scrolls stuff so we can keep it going, and this team is going to focus on this other thing I'm going to mention and keep that going, and then we're going to focus on Starfield and keep that going. Just like with Rockstar, they're supposedly working on GTA 6, and yet they're still releasing a lot of crap for GTA 5, and I'm like, I don't play that no more. My brothers who I used to play with all the time, they don't play it no more. None of my friends play that game anymore. I'm not saying that that's enough to say no one's playing the game. I'm just saying that at some point you gotta let go of the shit and move on to something else, you know. So I don't know who is still playing Elder Scrolls Online. I never tried it. I only played Skyrim of Elder Scrolls series. I never beat in it, but I played it way too many times. I played it for hours and hours. I just never got to the end like I wanted to. I just kept exploring and finding new things and just being amazed by that world. If they were to one day do a ground up remake of Skyrim, even though Skyrim's been re-released over and over and over again, but if you did a ground up with some amazing graphics, holy shit, like I'll be all for that. But adding to this whole Elder Scrolls Online crap, Fallout 76 is still getting content. Who the fuck is actually playing Fallout 76, honestly? And I don't need anyone to try to defend Fallout 76 or defend Todd Howard or defend Bethesda or Microsoft. Eat my ass. There's no defending Fallout 76. It was one of the worst things to ever release, both with the game itself and the collector's edition. You don't need me to explain anything. There's hundreds of stories on the internet, all over YouTube itself. You don't need me to talk about Fallout 76 other than why the fuck is it still getting DLC? Is it a much better game? Is it fixed? Or they just adding it to feel sorry or to apologize or whatever. I don't know. I just don't know who the hell's still playing it. So if you're playing Fallout 76, let me know in the comments why. Tell me why I'm wrong or tell me what I'm missing out, because I don't see a reason to play that. Now with Starfield, because they spent 45 minutes on Starfield and they're gonna have a separate Starfield presentation soon. The last gameplay that we got for Starfield, when I saw it, I just thought, it's like a Doom without the demons, and I was like, I don't really, it wasn't for me. I wasn't impressed. This gameplay, again, is not that I'm not impressed now or like more impressed, that type of thing. It didn't win me over, but there is a few things I want to talk about, and just so everyone is aware, Starfield is going to be 30 frames per second, okay? Now, before you argue and say there's not a big deal and that I'm complaining about it, number one, I'm not complaining because I don't really care. Like I said, I don't care about Bethesda anymore. I never really cared for them other than Skyrim. But when Gotham Knights was announced to be 30 frames, everyone lost their shit and lost their minds. Despite Gotham Knights not even being that much of an amazing game, it was I got it as a Christmas gift from my brother got it for me for Christmas, and I enjoyed the game because it was just okay. I personally don't care about the 30 frames versus 60 frames, but I noticed the gameplay they showed did look a little bit choppy, a little bit slow, and it's 30 frames. According to Bethesda, they didn't want to sacrifice the fidelity by having the drop of resolution, and like those games that come in 60 frames does come with options to do performance or fidelity. So that came from my good friend, the film Cubano. He gave me that quote because he did the research on it. I did a little bit of research, but that again, you have those options in those games to do the performance mode and lose some of the quality of the game, or you can lower down the performance so the game looks amazing. But with this game, it's not that I have a problem with what they're doing. It's very, very ambitious. And when you have an ambitious project like that, you need to make sure that you can deliver on all your promises, because for a while, the massive joke was No Man's Sky 2.0, or Bethesda's No Man's Sky. And this is what I'm seeing here. It's like a No Man's Sky in terms of upgrading and changing your ship, going into the space battles they promise you can do, going from planet to planet, the hyperdrive, getting a crew, getting resources, jumping into a mission or whatever. Those kind of things are making me question whether or not we can actually believe Bethesda, especially considering Fallout 76. And you can't argue with me that one title that was bad is enough to justify their crap, because with Fallout 76, that was a huge situation, a huge loss. And then you also had some previous Bethesda titles that weren't that amazing. So you already are on that wrong foot. You already had a few delays. I don't mind delays personally. If you're going to delay it because you need more time to work on the game, by all means, take the time to work on the game. It's going to suck to wait a bit longer for the game, but if it promises a much better experience that's not going to be broken and not going to be crappy, or it's going to actually work, then yes, delay the game, make sure it works, make sure it runs, do the proper testing. Don't do a Redfall release bullshit. But aside from that, 30 frames for you guys who want the game, just keep in mind 30 frames. Game Pass first day, that's awesome. Massive exclusive explorable game, awesome. Okay, now it does have third person option, awesome. Hopefully the third person isn't as shitty as Skyrim's third person. Okay, I would like to have the experience of flying your spaceship through space and the planets and feeling like a Star Wars character, or like Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy, something like that. I want that feeling, that type of experience, but I think it's very ambitious. I think they're trying to do way too much, and they could potentially screw up on a few things. Combat for me, despite having a third-person mode, it's a first-person shooter. Let's be real. And it's Bethesda, so it's all first-person shooters for the most part anyway. The watch they're gonna give you is cool, but I have an Apple Watch. I don't really need it. I'm not a fan to go out and get a watch. The new controller and the wireless headset for the game looks pretty cool. I like when games do that special edition controller and accessories. I think that Sony needs to do more of those, like they did the God of War controller. We may get a Spider-Man controller, we may not. We didn't get a God of War faceplate. We should have gotten a God of War faceplate. We should get a Spider-Man faceplate. Horizon should have done something. They have the headset in white, black, and the camouflage. They should be making the headset in the colors to match the faceplate. I wouldn't mind the blue headset, blue headphones to match my faceplate, but I have the black one. But so I like that they're gonna do a custom controller. And again, if you want to play a game but you don't have the Xbox, if you want to play this game but you don't have an Xbox, the Series S is now in a terabyte, and it's in black, and it looks really cool. It kind of blends with the giant circular vent, and it's only going to cost you, I believe it's $360. That's funny, $360. $360 for the Series S 1 terabyte. Or you can buy the S, the 512 gigabyte and get an expansion card, whichever you prefer, whatever. Or just go to Verizon's website, get the 5G internet for the free month trial, and they'll give you an Xbox Series S within 2 months anyway, once you activate your service. So you can do that. So I think this is something that could maybe bring people over if it wasn't Bethesda, or if Bethesda didn't have the issues from the previous games and the bad track record already. You're gonna argue that they don't, but just shut up and agree that they do, or agree to disagree. But I think that's gonna be a kind of an issue with people buying the game or buying a console for the game. But I also think that with everything they want to do in the game, you have to make sure the story is engaging, the gameplay is good, and it works, and it keeps people interested in knowing more about the universe that they created and where they can go and what they can do, and how many endings are we gonna get? What kind of side quests can we see? They did show a huge amount of customization with the character and the ship and the traits and the stats and what type of person you want to be. Apparently, there's differences between choosing a certain religion or a certain like place of origin, and it affects the game differently. But is this game gonna make my Xbox explode? Like, I have a Series X. Is it gonna explode from playing this game because of how ambitious it is and how massive they want this game to be? And despite that, we all know that Tears of the Kingdom will still be Game of the Year anyway. Honestly, like I said, I'm not a Zelda fan. I thought Breath of the Wild was overhyped. So we all know Tears of the Kingdom will be Game of the Year anyway. But this is a good year for games. Some of these games I believe are coming out this year, but Starfield comes out this year. We had Tears of the Kingdom, we got Spider-Man, we got Forza, we got Mortal Kombat 1, we had Street Fighter 6, we got Hogwarts Legacy, Resident Evil 4. So all in all, as long as the game is working good and Bethesda can deliver on the promises, that's what's really important. Deliver on the promises, make the game engaging, make it fun, don't make the worlds bland, don't give us some bullshit about why it's 30 frames only. Just own up to your shit and be honest, Pete. Like, that's pretty much it, people. Like, be honest to your shit, own up to your shit. But I have been talking for too long now, and I'm gonna end the video here. But let me know what you thought about the showcase. I would say it honestly was better than the PlayStation 1. It did have some more things that were a bit interesting, and AAA big announcements. For me, just me being a Spider-Man fan, for me the Spider-Man gameplay was better to me than Starfield, because I actually care about Spider-Man than Starfield. But they did show 45 minutes of Starfield, and they still have more to show you. So I'm hoping that's not one of those things of like, we're going to show you so many things, but we're going to make the cuts so that every scene you see is like half a second long, so you don't see all the bullshit in between, because they were doing that earlier with the cuts of the scenes, and I was like, yeah, they're hiding something here. Hopefully that's not the case here. But again, just to wrap up, you got Starfield, you got Hellblade 2, you got Forza Motorsport, which I believe is going to be 8 technically, or maybe it's a soft reboot, I don't know. You have this Still Wakes the Deep, you have the Path of the Goddess, you got what's that one game called, the Clockwork Revolution. You have all these announcements that there's something for everybody here. Oh, Fable, right? There's something for everybody here. And I would love to see Xbox continue to do more and more and add more exclusives to their lineup. Give people a reason to buy an Xbox, essentially. Stop relying too heavily on Bethesda and Activision Blizzard, because they didn't even put Diablo on Game Pass. You have to pay full price for that game. So stop relying on those. Cut the bullshit with your Elder Scrolls Online and your Fallout 76 and your Overwatch 2, and just make more AAA exclusive. Fix Halo for the Halo fans. Give the Gears of War fans another Gears of War. And that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.